Welcome back, Year 10. Today we will be looking at the functionalist perspective and the family's role within society. Please do remember to use your sociological imagination constantly in these lessons so that I know you are understanding concept, theories, sociologists, experiments and studies, and also so you can actually achieve your assessment objectives, okay? So, have a look at your do it now. Using your sociological imagination, what do you think the function of the family is according to the functionalist perspective? Now, not only do I have a clue, but I also have your green pencil there indicating that you will green pen your answer. So do pause this video for me until you've finished. So functionalists argue that all institutions in society have important roles to play in the smooth and functional running of society, and the family is no different. If you mentioned organic analogy, absolutely fantastic. You're hitting your top, if this was an exam question, you'll be hitting your top marks there. They argue that the family has important functions for both society and for individuals. Now, some systems to remember. Your orange highlighter is your clue. Your green pencil is for you to assess your work. I've included fail and sell. From now on, I will be including fail and sell because this is something we do in lesson. Sometimes not so obviously. I do try to do this with you implicitly. But I want you to get used to failing, because if you're failing, it means you're trying. And that really is going to help you in terms of success, not only when later on in life, but also now. Okay, your assessment objectives are your AO1, AO2, and AO3. I will still for the next couple of lessons still put your AOs next to certain slides for you to understand where you will be getting your AOs. Okay, but I will slowly take them off for you to understand what an AO is or where you will be picking up your AOs. Okay, so just a quick recap. What is the organic analogy? In terms of functionalism, what is organic analogy? You can do this as a spider diagram, you can do it as a bullet point. It's up to you how you do this, so long as you do it, okay? Pause this video for me, please. Right, we're going to green pen this. Please take out your green pens. So, in terms of the organic analogy, remember functionalism is a consensus theory, so therefore they see society being in harmony, okay? The body is made up of different organs, bones, muscles, cells, all of which have different functions, okay? Now, all of these together work to meet the needs of not only ourselves, okay, as a whole body, but also in terms of society, okay? Within society, for example, our primary and secondary socialization in different institutions help meet society's needs, just the way our organs help meet our whole body, okay? So they work together to maintain social order. Please do remember that social order is needed for society to continue the way it is. Just as an AO2, as a challenge, remember your challenge is for everybody. I want everybody to attempt this, okay? Why is change a scary concept for functionalists? Use your sociological imagination to justify your answer. I do want an academic piece of writing, so do take your time doing this, and I really want you to delve a little bit deeper into your knowledge of functionalism, because we haven't even done anything with the family yet. So pause this for me, please. Right, let's green pen it. According to functionalist theory, when societies experience disruption and change, institutions such as the family become disorganized, weakening social cohesion. Remember what social cohesion is, girls and boys. We have seen in recent and in the last decade in particular that the family is breaking down under social strains. Functionalists suggest that this breakdown is the result of the disorganisation of forces and create rapid social change. Now, if you were to further develop this, I would then love for you to talk about what is going on currently within our society, because not only is there a rapid social change, but with it comes laws and policies that are also being changed, okay? So just to give you a bit of context, in the 1950s and the 1960s, the nuclear family was viewed by many functionalists in a positive term, okay? It was necessary and important for society to function. So is the nuclear family the best type of family? Who does it serve? I want you to justify your answer for me, please. Pause this until you do it. So George Murdoch is our first functionalist we will look at in terms of the family. The classic functionalist statement on the roles of the family comes from George Murdoch, who looked at families across the world over 250 societies and found 4 functions that were common to all of them. What I want you to do before I show you these 4 functions is I want you to try to tell me which type of family do you think Murdoch found in every society. Pardon me. What did this type of family consist of? Now, your clue is that it is the most common type of family. It was the most common type of family in the 1950s. So think about all the films you've watched with your parents or carers. Think about what the family looked like in the 1950s, and that should help you. So one of the 4 functions was educational. So children are taught the norms and values of society, also known as the primary socialization. The economy. The family provides an economic function to all its members by pooling resources and ensuring all have what they need. Now, please remember, even though this is an AO1 or an AO2, depending on how you're using it, I want you to constantly in the back of your head also think of AO3. Well, actually, if it is economic, the family provides an economic function to all its members. Well, does it? Because if let's say the mother is staying at home and she's working and taking care of the home in that way, then is she earning any money? Because we know domestic labour at home, if you're married and you're at home looking after your children, you don't get paid for that. Okay. Reproductive, so produces the next generation of the society. And sexual, ensures that adult sexual relationships are controlled and stable. We will have a look at this in year 11 when it comes to, for example, sexual, and how this relationship is important and is controlled, because if it's not controlled and it's not stable, then we tend to deviate and break the law to then get what we want in terms of that, okay? So the nuclear family should have been your answer for this. So I've done it like this, but it's just an idea. Again, please remember, you have a choice in how you revise. You have a choice in how you take your own notes, okay? So you can do it like this if you want to, 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points, or you can do it in terms of a table, or you can do it like this, for example. But I want you to remember the 4 functions of the family, because this is something we'll be constantly going through, and you may have to rely on this in terms of your exams, okay? So, Talcott Parsons on families. Remember, this is your fail and sail. So, Talcott Parsons in 1951 updated Murdoch's theory. He argued that in modern Western societies, the state provided education and could perform an economic function through welfare provisions, okay? But that the family still had 2 irreducible functions. What do you think they are? Okay, don't expect you to necessarily know, but I want you to take an intelligent guess, okay? Primary socialization and stabilization of adult personalities. What do you think they sound like? I want you to write down. So for primary socialization, I don't expect anyone not to know, but stabilization of adult personalities may be a little bit more tricky, but I want you to attempt it, and then we can green pen it in a second. So pause this video now. Okay, so similar to Murdoch's educational role, Parsons agreed that families taught children social norms and values. However, he argued that it specifically taught children the norms and values associated with their family and or community, while other institutions such as schools, the media, religion, for example, taught children the universal norms and values of wider society. Parsons called this first process primary socialization and the latter secondary socialization. So what it means in terms of this, just to kind of go over it a little bit more. At home, if your parent or carer believes in something, we tend to, as children, then believe in it also, or we want to do it also if they're doing something. And sometimes, depending on how adamant your parent is in terms of their belief system, and it could be anything. It literally could be that, I don't know, women are the worst drivers in this world. I don't know. But there's not a lot of room for flexibility. It's in your secondary socialization where you then get the universal norms and values in terms of wider society. And this is in school, for example, you're taught democracy, you're taught to tolerate each other's beliefs and ideas, and etc., that you might not have had at home, okay? Your stabilization of adult personalities, Parsons also argued that families help to prevent adults from behaving in disruptive or dysfunctional ways. So instead, encouraging them to conform to social norms, especially at times of stress. The family provides emotional support to its members. Parsons famously described this in his warm bath theory. This was the idea that when a man came home from a hard day at work, he could relax into a family like a warm bath, and it would take away the stress and refreshing for the next day's work. Okay? So, when it comes to evaluating the functionalist view of the functions of families and households, we have 4 main things that I want you to take note of. Now, I'm not going to read this out for you because you can read, but I want you to take notes in a way where you will not only remember, but then use yourselves in exam answers. Okay, and I will be asking you exam questions and expecting these things in there. Okay, so this will be fantastic if you wrote on a study card. So evaluating the functions of families and households, and on the other side, functionalist views of functions of families and households, and on the other side, these 4 basic things. Okay, because then we get to actually criticize in a little bit more depth in terms of other sociologists. Okay, so this image I've just taken from the Modern Family, they're on TV, and then it goes through. It's almost like a docu series or like a drama, hitting on the different types of families that there are. Okay. Now, some of the criticisms of the nuclear family are that it has an unfair domestic division of labour, okay? Especially when it comes to feminist perspective or the Marxist feminist perspective of the family, we will have a deeper look into what this means. But just to kind of tell you now, women on average are doing over 20 hours more a week domestic labour in comparison to their male counterparts. Okay, the nuclear family ignores family diversity like extended or blended family types, domestic violence, and stereotypical and discriminatory against other family types. For example, same-sex families or single parent families. Okay. Now, in terms of criticisms of Parsons, what I want you to do is this is almost like a so criticism. The criticism itself is an AO3, but when I've given you the AO1, so your points yourselves. Okay, so in terms of identify would be a point. I've identified for you. Then I want you to give examples, and that's your AO2s. Okay, so number 1 ignores class and ethnic diversity. I want you to explain that. Ignores alternatives to nuclear family. Explain that for me, please. Do that for me now. Pause this video. So, when was this information retrieved? Okay, this is a bit of research methods for you. I've included in here because when you are getting when you are doing your exams, you will have research methods both within education and families. Okay, so the criminal justice data shows about 60,000 convictions per year, while public surveys reveal 2.4 million adults experience domestic violence, okay, or domestic abuse. The ONS, who knows what the ONS is? Office for National Statistics tells public technology how it has brought together information from a range of sources to help policymakers and support services. So using your knowledge of research methods, which method is best to use for research in domestic violence? Okay, so think about your ethics here. Your clue is there. Think about your ethics. Again, I don't necessarily need or I don't necessarily think you know this answer, but I do want it to shock you. And the reason why I want it to shock you is actually this article came out in 2020, so this year, and still we have, out of 2.4 million adults experiencing domestic abuse, we only have 60,000 convictions per year. What I want you to do is I want you to write down and try to, as a sociologist, try to give me a reason as to why, or give as many reasons as you can as to why we're only getting 60,000 convictions a year and not 2.4 million. Okay. Now the figures on crime levels and trends for England and Wales based on two sets of statistics, so primary and secondary. So crime survey for England and Wales and police recorded crime data. That's very important there, because remember, we look at, in research methods, we look at primary and secondary sources, and we also look at surveys that we have to complete victim surveys ourselves, or police records, and we know that police records and our own crime surveys don't necessarily match. Okay, just another one for you. Which year was this? So 173 people were killed in domestic violence. This was in 2018. So this article came out in 2019, and it was talking about the year before. That is still too many people being killed in domestic violence related homicides. Okay. Now, as your homework, your AO1, AO2 and AO3, I want you to explain what is meant when the functionalist perspective is described as Wombar theory. Again, I want you to criticize it. Then I want you to actually come to the next lesson being able to understand the difference between pre-industrial times and industrial times and modern day families. Okay. Okay, if you have any questions, do email us. That's it. Have a good day.